Welcome in, everyone. This is another edition of the Full-Time Roundup Podcast. This is your host, Daniel Brackett, joined alongside me, my co-host, Harrison Clark. Harrison, it's been around, I don't know, give or take 5 weeks since we've recorded. We've had some career stuff going on, some life stuff. It's been busy, but, it's time to get back on the mic. It's been a while since we've chatted and talked some footy. Since the last time we've spoken, a lot's happened. So we're going to have to kind of bebop around on this episode here. But you took a trip from across the pond to Deutschland. Tell me about it.
Dude, it was sick. I had never been to Germany before. Obviously, back in high school, me and you and a bunch of our friends from our high school went to Europe, but had never been to Germany before. Hopped around a bunch in Germany, primarily in Munich. Got to go to Augsburg to see a Bundesliga game. That was my first game in person in Europe watching a game, so that was sick. Taking in that kind of atmosphere. Gotta say, a wild miscalculation from my uncle getting the tickets. Bought the tickets as he said he put on the ticket that he's an Augsburg supporter. We buy the tickets and we end up in Block W. And what is that? That is the supporter section of Bochum, and my God.
Were you wearing Augsburg shit?
No,
Thank-
completely neutral.
Thank
Completely
God.
neutral.
Thank God.
Danny,
I didn't know
swear
if
to
you
God,
went to a store and picked up like a fucking shirt or something before.
No. There was no favoritism, even though we say that we're the only reason we put that we were going to be Augsburg supporters was so that we could basically get a neutral seat. But first thing I see, we start walking up the ramp. Security's already there. I mean, lots of security, and this section is completely full of just Bochum supporters supporting their last place team off their ass, drunk as shit. The game hasn't even started. And the first thing I see is one Bochum supporter punch another Bochum supporter in the face. And the guy who got punched in the face, his nose starts bleeding. He already had a cast on his arm. I was like, oh my God.
9-9?
Oh, dude. Me and my cousin, who I spent a lot of the time with, we were in awe of what was going on. We're like, holy shit. They stuck us on the stairwell because there was nowhere else to go. I was getting hit in the face by their waving flags. There was another Bochum supporter. There was bars between the Bochum supporters section and what I thought was the neutral section, but there were also a couple other Bochum supporters on the side. And this kid who's my age starts walking up the stairwell, and he just starts talking shit to this guy across the bar, giving him the middle finger. And I'm looking over, and he's talking shit to another Bochum supporter. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?
When you're in the relegation zone, dead last in the Bundesliga, it's a rat race, and you start to turn against your own. Obviously,
we were at the concession stand, and this supporter, he was a Bochum supporter. Also, he recognized, I guess, from the way that we were ordering and stuff like that we were American, and he was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we're like, "Just checking out a game, man." And he was like, "The game you came to see was Augsburg versus Bochum." And I was like, he's got a fair point. He's got a fair point. Yeah, no, good point, man. But so we eventually, my uncle started basically sweet talking one of the security guards, and we ended up 3 rows from the pitch. So it was pretty cool. The game itself, lackluster, nothing real great. Augsburg won the game 1-0, scored a penalty. Bochum, just really bad team. They just offered absolutely nothing. But as a whole, a pretty great experience in Germany. I mean, it was freezing, but it was a good time.
How was the stadium for Augsburg?
Really nice.
That's awesome.
Bigger than I thought it was. I mean, I know that it's they're a top flight team, and they've been top flight, I guess, for a while in Bundesliga. But I mean, yeah, the stadium was held a lot of people.
And that's in Bavaria, correct?
Yeah.
Interesting. And from my side, I knew you were in Germany, forgot you were going to the game, and I wake up around probably 8:30, and my first text I see is Harrison texting me yo, you got any plays in this Augsburg Bochum game? And I was like, am I gonna have to report this guy to 1-800 because that is the most diabolical,
cynical, absolutely
and
cynical.
then you're like, dude, I'm going to the game. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
And then
I just
the bet didn't hit anyways. But
just needed a little juice because I knew there was a possibility that the game could suck. I mean, it was gonna be cool going to the game, but I knew the game had potential to not be the best. So ended up taking the over 1.5. Couldn't even get there. So I was like, you know
brutal,
what,
tough.
that's fine.
That's
But
thanks to the Steve Mounier throwback to Huddersfield if you're a PL fan. But those games can either go two ways, either two shit teams,
or
it can
banana land.
fly,
Yeah.
or it can be like a stalemate basically, and that's basically you got the latter, unfortunately. But thank you for that story. That's awesome. That kind of reminds me of when I was in Seville watching Sevilla Atletico last game of the season, and the Atletico Bilbao fans were caged off in like plastic. And
I mean, that's basically
seen that
what
before.
it was.
I was like, dude, this is like a cage. This is crazy.
It was nuts.
But all right, we'll move on just because we have a lot to talk about today. But that's a great story, and thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely jealous, even though wish we could have intersected. Maybe you could have got a few months sooner. Glad I missed the cold weather at least. It looks cold when I watched the Bundesliga. It was cold.
It was sub 20 every day.
Sub 20?
It was cold. Yeah.
Oh my God. I thought it would be like 30s.
I mean, there were some days if the sun was out that it was 30, but I mean, we also were outside pretty much the entire time, just checking it all out. So it was a lot of layers going on.
God, I can't imagine. No wonder Gio Reyna can't stay healthy.
Stiff as a bull.
I know, but all right, let's get to some Premier League. So last time we spoke, United had a different manager. Now we've been talking about Ten Hag's downfall for a very long time now, and it's finally happened. And Ruben Amorim has taken charge. He's changed the formation. We've seen the same old United, though, I'd say. They lose to Forest this weekend. They're on not a good run of form here. I think they are a little bit more organized from back to front, I will say, but it just seems like it's taking more time than a lot of people maybe gave them Amorim credit for in terms of turning this United ship around. I didn't think this was going to be an overnight switch myself. I feel like they got a little sneak peek when Ruud Van Nistelrooy kind of took charge, and they just thumped, I think, Leicester that first game in charge, and kind of had like a big manager bounce. But I was watching that Arsenal game in particular that they lost to. They did lose on like 2 corners, which is unfortunate, but
Arsenal they just scoring every quarter.
Yep, and they just didn't seem like that creative going forward. There was no like attacking verve, and I was kind of surprised by that because I thought Rashford would kind of come onto the scene here. Maybe Garnacho could finally do something this season. He's been dreadful, but a lot of the same old. Is there anything that you've seen that looks, if a United fan is listening to this and wanting hope here, have you seen anything to look forward to other than Amarin's terrible body language?
Well, I think it's a problem from the top down. I mean, they got a team of $600 million or whatever on their pitch, and like the talent's just not that good. Frankly, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's nice that they have Lenny Yoro finally playing.
Yeah,
I think he was one of their more promising signings in the summer, and he really hasn't been able to get on the pitch at all year until recently. So, getting him into the fold, maybe helping to solidify their defense somewhat. An Amorim system, Bruno's getting on the ball a whole lot, and it's good for him. It's good for him because that's where his magic happens is when he's on the ball. So if he's making outlet passes or everything's going through him, then I think that United have a better chance of success going forward. The main thing that they got to continue to try to get going is Rashford. He scored immediately in their first game against Ipswich with Amorim. I believe he scored in their
45 seconds.
That was nuts. He scored, I believe, in their 4-0 win over Everton. and then they've had their 2 losses consecutively to Arsenal and Forest, where he hasn't really been as effective. So finding some sort of consistency for Marcus Rashford is going to be massive. I mean, just feel like at some point this guy has got to get going. He's their generational player, but he hasn't been playing like that for almost a year now. So if they could somehow unlock Rashford, I think it unlocks a ton for them. But I think it's a process, and it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, their sporting director just left out of nowhere. Uh, there's just so much that's going wrong. I think that is wrong at United that they still have to figure out. So this is going to be a process.
Absolutely. I do think Rasmus Højlund has banged in a few goals as of late. So that's good. Xerxes had a few. I don't think Xerxes does have a long-term future as a United player. I think
we'll see if Gyökeres follows, because I mean that's like that's the guy that obviously Amorim's going to want to get in there. That's his guy. If they can find a way to get Gyökeres, then I don't really know what happens with their strikers, because they should just buy 2 strikers 2 seasons in a row. So like at that point, it almost feels void. But also, it's the world we're living in where you spend money to be good. So I don't really know.
Yeah, and Xerxes could be a good Bundesliga player. He could be he's obviously proven in Italy. I think he could play in Spain. I don't think the Premier League really suits his game, but there's not many clubs out there that are going to pay that high price tag that United spent for him after a failed move. So it'll be interesting to see what his future is. Maybe they loan him out next year and he can kind of recoup some of that value they got. But I do think there still is a good player within Xerxes, just not a United player in terms of just the style he can play. He's a hold up, much more intricate play. He's not fast paced on the counterattack. I will say, I think that Amorim takes 2 players from Sporting. I think Gyökeres is the obvious one that everyone shouts, but I think we're missing one that I think would be a very good signing for them. A very underrated signing. Not many people know of him. It's that CDM. Is it? He's the blonde kid. Starts with an H. I'm gonna try to pronounce his name in just a second. But it's Morten Højlund. He's 25 years old, Danish kid. Market value has him at 46 million. He's been one of the best players for Sporting for the last couple seasons. 6'1", good build. I think he can. He's been under Amorim for 2 seasons now. So I think that he could be a player, because when I look at United, I think obviously the attack could be better, but I think the midfield is their biggest hole right now. Kobe Manu has been injured. Bruno is obviously very good, but he doesn't have much help there. Casemiro, probably his last year in a United shirt. Eriksen is just not the player he once was. So I think you sold McTominay. Ugarte's okay. I think he could do the dirty work. I think he's a good rotational player. I don't know if you can depend on him for 40 games a season in the Prem. So I think, Morten Højlund could be a good signing. I actually don't mind they might sign Ignacio or someone like a center back as well. I thought De Ligt's been good. I think that, you get Lenny Euro as well now. Mazraoui on the right side's fine. I don't really know who's going to play left back. Got more questions than answers for United, but
when you're working on an Amorim system, I mean, he's got the wing backs going now too. So we've seen a little bit of Diallo at right wing back, which I actually like a lot. I think that
he's a silky player.
Yeah, he's nice, and we've been seeing some of Malacia, who I have not seen in a while.
Well, he was out for like a year plus.
I know, but I'm saying like you almost forget that they even have him because we haven't seen him in a long time. So I don't know if he's the long-term solution. Luke Shaw just got injured again, so I mean,
shocker.
God knows what his future looks like, but yeah, I mean, it's just a whole different system, and he's got to get his guys in there, I think, too. Realistically,
where do you see them ending up this season in the table? Right now they are to no 13th?
I think they'll get top half. I think they'll make it. I think they'll finish probably. My prediction is 9th.
Fulham is 10th. Brentford is 9th and at 23 points, only 4 points behind. I think that's very doable.
The gap between the top 4 and like mid-table is not far, but also you got to also account that City, even though it's been bad, and we'll probably talk about them. Like you got to figure at some point that they'll probably make their way back into the top 4, and so that top 4 just seems completely impossible for them. So I don't know. I just think it's going to take a little while for this team to really figure it out. I just don't think they're that talented, to be honest.
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned City. Let's go to the other club in Manchester City. Been in just, basically since we stopped recording, they've just been absolutely
unbelievable,
which is hilarious because we used to just be like, God damn it, City won again. Now we stopped recording for 5 weeks and they dropped, they
5 in a row.
Yeah, they dropped. Well, the last 5, technically 3 losses, 1 draw, 1 win. So, pretty catastrophic, especially this weekend against Palace. Palace are not good. They are 17th. And it's just like the goals that they're conceding are just so uncharacteristic. I mean, we've seen Gvardiol, Akanji, Ake, all just give the ball away in their third of their field and build up play. And it's just like, I just cannot believe what I'm watching. This is mistakes
no midfield.
No midfield. This is like the mistakes you see, Harrison, from like a Southampton trying to build all the back and they just give the ball away really poorly. Like that's kind of the mistakes that they're being plagued with right now. And obviously Pep Guardiola is riled. He's scratching his head. He's lashing out at people who are talking shit on the street. The guy has not slept for weeks now. And I mean, if there's any coach that's going to figure it out, it's going to be Pep Guardiola. I'm sure they're going to go and sign a couple players in January and right this ship. But I think the biggest thing here, if I'm a Manchester City fan, is all right, if you take out Holland from that top 3 and you throw in just like, your average striker, where is that front 3 ranked in the Premier League in terms of potency? I'm saying middle of the table.
Or wingers wise, like after a bright start to the year, dude, Savio has done nothing.
Doku, he scored a couple goals recently, but he's
been a problem. They've had to they've started to play Mateus Nunes more, who he's doing nothing for me.
Well, he's just not a winger, plain and simple. I don't know why Pep's not playing him in the middle of the park. Foden's been terrible. Grealish has been terrible.
They just got De Bruyne back. I mean, I don't know. There's so many I really didn't even think it was possible for them to lose 5 in a row.
I didn't think so either.
I didn't even think. I actually it's still hard for me to fathom that even happened. The Feyenoord draw in the Champions League, up 3-0 at home, and they gave up 3 in a row to Feyenoord. I could not believe what I was watching, and that's when we had the photo of Pep basically scratching all the way to his brain and saying that he wanted to harm himself. That was wild. But it's pretty crazy what's happened with City. I knew losing Rodri was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be this bad.
And now this weekend, Rico Lewis gets sent off, going to serve a touchline ban. I mean, the only healthy defenders you have is Gvardiol, Diaz, and Kyle Walker. You have a bunch of academy kids for the other defenders, and then you're telling me that a midfield pivot of Gundogan and Bernardo Silva as the 6 and the 8. I just don't think that really shouts control to me. I think you cannot be playing Bernardo Silva as an 8. He's a 10 or a winger, in my opinion. He's lost a step. That's not why he's playing outside. I'd start Mateus Nunes next to Gundogan to get some steel in there for now. and just throw out a winger. Probably, Doku has to start every single game at this point because Savio's been, that I think they were really gambling on him to be good after his amazing season at Girona, and he just hasn't really had his magic. I'm not really sure where this is going for City. They just look slow. They look old, and
It happened fast too.
And it happened. But at the same time, Harry, Liverpool, two last season, 2 seasons ago, had a huge drop off after like in a miraculous 3 or 4 years. It just like sometimes that happens with these title sides who just win every single year, and it's hard to like you got to bring fresh blood in constantly, and they've been really relying on older players to keep carrying that burden. I just think it's not working. I can't believe Pep signed an extension. I thought he was gone after this year for sure, but very concerning if you're a Manchester City fan. You're fourth, so you're not too far.
The title's completely gone for them?
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
But I actually wish I didn't answer that just because this is what they do around this time, and then January comes and they get hot. They get real hot.
Seen it. We haven't seen
not
it
like this.
Like this. Like if
True.
they pulled this, then I'd just be at a complete loss for words. But
I don't think
we've seen them go on runs though.
Yeah, I think they get top 4 for sure. But
yeah, I do. I do as well.
But yeah, no. And then you got your 3 contenders. 2 of them are teams that we definitely
Well, we're not in a title race. We're not title contenders.
You are a title contender at this point, Harrison, and I guess we'll go ahead and get into it with Chelsea. Chelsea with a big win against their rivals, Tottenham. Go down 2-0 and come back with 4 unanswered goals. If you're a Tottenham fan, you're sick to your stomach, and if you're a Chelsea fan, you're just enjoying it. 2 penalties for Cold Palmer. It seems like Sancho's kind of contributed more in the goals as of late. Noni Madueke has been great. Nico Jackson, fantastic. Enzo Fernandez, dude got a divorce and turned into one of the best midfielders in the world. Don't really know. There was always a player with Enzo. Didn't see as much as we wanted to the last couple seasons, but he's really turned it on. There's nothing like divorcing your wife to really get that bounce in your career.
Some juice. Just need some juice.
Guy is balling right now. So Chelsea look for real. They do, and they cleaned up the back. Maresca has that gamble has paid off. Now all these young signings are really starting to come into form, and it's kind of being put all together. And Cole Palmer is the fulcrum of it all.
It's pretty unbelievable, to be honest. Chelsea's in an unbelievable form right now.
5 straight, I believe. Yep. No, 4 straight and with a draw.
Yeah, we haven't lost that, but I don't think we've lost since
in a while.
I want to say the end of October, or something close to that. So it's been unbelievable to watch. We start with Cole. Cole's doing everything. That second penalty,
the Panenka,
was one of the nasty. Forster got up before the ball was even in the net, and he was just turned away, like looking back at the crowd behind him. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Did you see the picture?
That was like, which one?
He's like on the ground looking, and the ball's like literally not even in the net.
That's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, genius on Cole's part, but he's just so fucking relaxed. Nothing phases him. He's a sicko. But yeah, they got everything going right now. Enzo Fernandez literally has become him in about a month. That goal he scored at Spurs, beautiful. He's scored, I think, I don't think he scored in the one before Spurs, but he'd scored in the 2 previously.
I think it's like 6 goals and assists and 9 apps or something, like a really good goal record.
Yeah, and they got him pushed forward, and now it creates even more problems when he's able to get on the ball as a 10. Caicedo's starting to hold it down. They've even inverted Caicedo from playing right back at times into the midfield. Maresca's got that thing cooking. Even Cucurella, when he inverts, has been very good. he nearly cost us the game this past week because he didn't have the right shoes on. But besides that, I mean,
he threw him away.
Yeah, no, he tossed him in the trash. I think it's fucking hilarious how the second goal goes in and immediately he sprints over to the sideline, changes it. Like, dude, what? I mean, just a horrible look. But yeah, it's crazy. And they like Conference League, they just throw out the B team and they kill everybody also. So it's really nice. They have that working for them, and the fact that a lot of other teams that they're playing, or a lot of the other top teams in England, obviously are playing their normal guys midweek, and Chelsea's fully rested for the weekends and going out there and putting on offensive clinics. I mean, it feels like every time they attack that there's a high possibility they could score. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Enzo says they're not title contenders, and maybe that's just not to put pressure on the fellas, but
too young.
It's sure as hell. I mean, yeah, youngest team in the Prem, and they're doing this shit, which is really exciting. But I don't know. 4 points back. Obviously, Liverpool have a game in hand, but starting to make it a little weird, I think.
Yeah, no, I can't remember the last time you guys played Arsenal, but I'd like to see you two kind of duke it out because
we played them about a month and a half ago and tied 1-1.
You guys are magic from open play, and obviously you have Cole Palmer as a dead ball specialist, but through open play, you guys are night and day better than Arsenal. Arsenal are at this point corner merchants, and they'll go grab a goal, but there's some big holes in that Arsenal team right now that I feel like is just like not being reflected on the table, and so there's that. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I was a couple months ago, I was saying, hey, Caicedo, I think he's, I think he was, you guys said that he was the worst midfielder out of the three that we mentioned with Lavia, I think. That was when Lavia was playing well.
Lavia's been damn good too.
But he has been. But Caicedo has picked up his game, and I did not think Enzo Fernandez was a 10. I thought he was a 6, maybe an 8. But now he's putting goals to his game.
There's times earlier this year where he was left out of the team. I mean, it literally has happened maybe in the past month or so that he has completely become this guy who all of a sudden is chipping in with the goals.
Yeah, form and confidence in yourself, especially when the manager is confident in you, will do wonders for you, obviously. And then, we got Liverpool at the top. I haven't really talked to him about much. I can't overstate, how important not playing the Goodison Derby this weekend was. Get some rest. We are banged up right now. We were super healthy and then immediately got really injured. And Connor Bradley, Costas Simikas, Kanate all out on the back line. Jarrell Kwanzaa's looked Joe Gomez, like when you throw these guys on and they haven't played many minutes, it's going to be really tough for them to kind of slot in with that mid-season form that a lot of these other teams have.
I wanted them to play so badly this weekend.
I was so scared. To be honest. But especially when you go to Newcastle in the midweek, and Newcastle just picked us apart defensively. I mean, I think Newcastle played one of their better games of the entire season, period. Sure. And I mean, Isak hits an absolute nuke. Anthony Gordon, yeah, he is starting to cook. Anthony Gordon, who was probably pissed off he never got the transfer to Liverpool that he wanted, had a revenge game in him, and he showed why he's so quality. And so then, I mean, Queen Kelleher, who's been magic for us, just makes a horrible error. I still don't know how Fabian Schär got that into the goal with no angle. But that was a tough points to give up there, especially after going from 2-0 to 3-2 and to give it up in the last seconds of the game. But then you see Arsenal tie Fulham this weekend, and it gives us a little bit of break. Now, I'm starting to get more concerned about Chelsea than I am about Arsenal at this point. I'm going to be completely honest with you. But, I mean, I think that Liverpool are still churning away results. Gravenberch, probably the best midfielder in the Premier League right now, if we're not counting Cole Palmer. If he's playing on the wings, I don't know where you kind of play Cole Palmer. But, both of those players are still in my XI. Mo Salah, probably going to get his extension. Van Dijk probably going to get his extension. Trent is 50-50 right now. That's the one I'm most concerned about at this moment. I think Trent embodies what Liverpool Football Club is. Came from the academy. I think he could have a bigger legacy than my favorite player of all time, Steven Gerrard. Especially because you have the trophies, and he's already all time in assists. He comes on against Newcastle, immediately gets 2 assists immediately.
Yeah.
But I do think that rest was very necessary, especially as these December, January fixtures are going to pick up here. Hopefully the squad can get healthy and continue to keep the distance between themselves and the rest of the pack, with Arsenal and Chelsea just hunting us from behind, though. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss? The first thing that comes to my mind, Harrison, is Forest, 5th place. I mean, we shouted them out earlier, and I remember we both said, like, this team's actually for real right now, and they've kind of continued that through the last 5 weeks. Yes, they got drubbed by City, but then they go and they beat United on the bounce. I mean, this team is a really, really hard team to beat. And then you have Chris Wood in his probably the best form of his life, just banging in goals left and right.
Yeah, no, he's a man on the mission in the box, dude. He is a problem. You cannot cover him. I mean, it looks like they've gotten through like the hard part of their schedule. I mean, these last 5 games have been tough for them. I mean, they played Newcastle, they played Arsenal, then they had the easy one against Ipswich, City United. Like, even for a club that's humming like Forest is, those are tough games, all consecutively. And they honestly dealt with it pretty well. They lost to Newcastle and Arsenal and City, but they took care of the points against Ipswich, and then they got a great win at Old Trafford. So you get through that part, and you're still laying in 5th. I mean, Nuno can't be mad about that. And dude, they are just so tough to break down. All year have been really, really tough to play against. I mean, I think about Chelsea. The Chelsea game they played earlier this year, 1-1 at Stamford Bridge. Like, that game was super cagey until literally stoppage time when it was back and forth action. So I don't know. Forest have been a surprise. Do I think that they can keep this up? We'll see. I mean, Aston Villa is doing no favors for themselves. Brighton are kind of Brighton are a weird team. Like, they have their games and they definitely don't have their games. So I would say of those 3, Forest are definitely the more consistent of them.
Yeah, I do see here on the Premier League table, 5th, Nottingham Forest on 25 points. And if you go all the way down to 10th at Fulham, you got Fulham, Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Villa, Forest, all separated by 2 points. So, this mix-up could happen. Tight. And, you think back to what I said earlier, January fixtures pick up. A lot of these teams can interchange pretty quickly, and we might be having a completely different conversation, say, in mid-January. But I think this is a very tight Premier League table this time around, more than I've seen in previous years. And I think it's been a really fun season for that. Now, I want to go back to the relegation zone. We had El Sacico.
I also want to say, City having the kind of year right now that they're having, it almost opens the door for
it does.
So I mean, that makes it so much more. I think, I don't want to say enjoyable, but it makes it.
I think it does.
Maybe it is enjoyable, but I think the fact that we actually might have a real race, and a real race for a top 4, even though I think there is a top 4 race every year, but a real race near the top of the table, it makes it even more exciting.
Absolutely. A lot of these clubs that I named before, like a Fulham and a Brentford and a Bournemouth, these clubs didn't even belong on a top half of the table, not even challenging.
Yeah, Bournemouth has been good too, man.
Iraola ball, man. I'm a big fan. And Kluivert's kind of hit firm. I mean, if you think about it, they sold Solanke in the summer. That was like their best player. And they've, Evan Nilsson's come in, played well. They've kind of picked up the slack with other players. So, I've been pretty impressed. I think that the Premier League just keeps attracting such good managers that a lot of these managers are taking these teams and punching above their weight. Newcastle's in 12th. They had more funding than almost anybody. And these other teams are outperforming them right now. And then you go down to the Premier League relegation, Southampton and dead last, Wolves, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Leicester City, and then Everton. Are you still feeling good about the relegation teams to go back down, or the promoted teams that went up go back down? Leicester City pull out an incredible last gasp draw this weekend, down 2-0, and they fired 2 back late. They're sitting 5 points above Ipswich. I mean, all those Ipswich and Wolves on 9 points. I just don't see Wolves getting relegated here. So I think Leicester City or Crystal Palace could revert back to that, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Dude, I don't know. Like,
Gary O'Neill's gone, so
dude, he's got to be. They lost again today to West Ham. Like, at this point, I don't see how you don't get a different guy in there, at least to try to get them out of there. I mean, he said after the game he felt like his players were still behind him. I don't know, dog.
sounds like a manager that doesn't have his
Southampton are really bad. Like, I don't see any world where
they were kind of frisky though. For like 2 weeks, they gave Liverpool a game, and then they beat someone else, I think, which was
they
crazy.
actually played, I think, pretty well against Aston Villa. Was it yesterday or the day before? They played really well against them.
Yeah, narrow win.
And there wasn't horrible conditions. Like, the rain was blowing sideways. But like, I'm thinking about the Chelsea game that they had a couple weeks ago. Like, I don't know if their style of play fits their team, playing out of the back, especially a lot of it going through their goalkeeper. Just they gave Christopher Nkunku a goal on a silver plate against Chelsea, and they made multiple mistakes playing that way. So I don't see them being able to necessarily stay up with that kind of football. Even though when they do get into the attacking third, it is actually pretty nice. Like, they were a good possession team once they get out of their own half. Yeah, they have to get out of their own half first. So I don't see Southampton get out of there. Ipswich, maybe
tough to beat, but maybe. I think Crystal Palace are just better. So Wolves.
And Leicester, all of a sudden, with Van Nistelrooy at the helm, I mean, they've rattled off 2 wins in a row. So who knows? Not saying they're necessarily going anywhere, but I think it could be enough to get them out of the relegation.
I think that's a couple games though now that you have Van Nistelrooy with a Leicester on tape, and so coaches can start to formulate a better game plan to thwart Van Nistelrooy. So we'll see if he has the tactical nous to keep setting his team up for victory, or if he's going to get figured out.
Where are you at with Spurs?
I was going to go to that. Spurs, I mean, our good friend Max, he's up 2-0 against Chelsea, and he goes, I'm so annoyed at.
I didn't want to say anything to him.
He's like, I'm so annoyed at Spurs, either be good or be shit. And he's like, and they're really fucking good today. And then I replied 2 hours later, and I said, well, maybe they are just shit. I'm a big Ange Postecoglou believer. I think you should give him to the end of the season to figure it out. Obviously, it's not good right now. And we've talked at length about his style, and it's when it's good, it's great, and when it's bad, it's bad. I don't know. It seems like the fans are getting pretty upset these days about their performances. I don't think you should fire Ange Postecoglou because I don't know who you're going to go hire that's better than Ange. But you bought Solanke in the summer for a big transfer. I feel like there's been some Son regression. And then you also, you're in the bottom half of the table, and Kulusevski's been one of the best players in the Premier League. So it's like, it doesn't really add up. I mean, the 2 penalties they gave away to Chelsea were so bad.
What was Basuma? What is he doing?
I think Sarr is just as bad.
No, I agree. But
Homer has his back to goal. There's no threat from him at that time, and he just like dives in for no reason. It was just brainless.
That reminded me a lot of our high school quarterfinal game in high school. But the Basuma one, I just felt like at a 2-2 game.
Can't be doing that.
Or whatever. Sorry, it was 2-1. It was 2-1 Spurs.
You have the lead.
You have the lead. You can't be doing that, especially with like a defensive mid running into the box. Like, not the time and place for it. And Sarr, inexcusable as well. But you mentioned it. When it's good, it's really exciting. It's really good. But they're bad. is really bad, and it just seems like that game was wildly chaotic and nutty and wide open, and
Fun game for
it
sure.
was a great game. Like Spurs and Chelsea always lives up to the hype. Like you knew, I told all my friends, I said to one of my best friends, he asked me what do you want, what do you like in Tottenham Chelsea, dude? Just be over. What are you talking about? This game is gonna fly over,
Cash
and
in
it
the
always
first half.
does. It always does between Spurs and Chelsea. But Spurs, even when they get up with the lead, like there's no style of play no change in the style to like at least try to save their lead at all. They just continue to try to step on the gas, and they bit them in the ass. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
now no Vicario. They got Fraser
He actually played
Foster.
really well.
Yeah, surprising. I thought he was going to be really bad, and Romero went out with another injury. They were without Van de Ven and Romero for weeks and kind of survived. Dragusin just hasn't been great. I don't know. I really don't know. That's a peculiar situation down in Tottenham Hotspur right now. Let's go to the Bundesliga though.
Yep.
Bayern still hold like a 6-point lead here. Eintracht Frankfurt, the darlings of this year, are Omar Mamouche, excuse me, with 13 goals. Wait, Jonathan Burkhart has 10 goals for Mainz in third. I was just pulling up the stats. That's unbelievable. But I really died on this Leverkusen take. They're 7 points back now. They did just knock Bayern out of the Polkai, which I feel like is always nice to Bayern not competing in the Polkai, so it's more parity there. But then that just gives them more rest to focus on the league. So it seems like that's probably, unless Bayern basically pull a Manchester City and drop like 3 or 4 results in a row. Now they don't have Harry Kane, so that could be possible. But they did grind out a win without Harry Kane, and Vincent Kompany has kind of proven his doubters so far. I'm not going to say he has completely yet, because against really good teams, it's not been so pretty. But they've been able to grind out some results here, so I still feel good about Bayern at least winning the league. I want to talk about Dortmund though in 6th. This feels like a different, same shit, different year. I mean, I just think that their manager is. I was hoping Sahin would be good. He's more like Terzic, just making bonehead tactical decisions that are just not it. It's just been bad, especially against good teams. They've, I think, one of the worst away records in the Bundesliga. They win at home always, but then they like have only had like one win away from home, which is just unacceptable if you want to get Champions League football in the Bundesliga.
How about no wins?
Or no wins, excuse me. Just really bad. Really, really bad. Stuttgart have kind of lost some steam. Dennis Undav got injured, and it's going to be tough to replicate that season again. But a team that we haven't seen in a while be good, but they've been decent, is Wolfsburg. They're 5th place right now. Ralph Hasenhüttl from Southampton way back in the day has kind of resurrected them. Had a tough start when he joined the club last year, but it seems like after a full preseason and everything, he's ridden the ship a little bit. So I feel like the Bundesliga stays fun. It always will be fun. I do think that Bayern are going to lift this trophy unless Frankfurt or Leverkusen, or I guess even Leipzig, but I'm not even going to count Leipzig in here, can really just continue to keep up steam with Bayern. And that's a tough ask, especially with Leverkusen having no Boniface or Patrick Schick for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. This is Bayern's league to lose. If we talk about Dortmund, they needed to find a way to hold on against Bayern a couple weeks ago. Up 1-0 at home. You just get the feeling that if they're able to hold on to that kind of win, maybe it boosts them into something further and they're able to go on a little run here. But Musiala gets the late goal in the Der Klassiker and then finishes 1-1. And, that's the kind of momentum that Bayern needed. Especially Kane getting injured that game, like kind of a ripple effect that could have if they end up losing to their rival, and also they lose their best player. So, yeah, I don't see Bayern surrendering this. I mean, you talk about Wolfsburg. They just went on the road a couple weeks ago also when I was in Germany and knocked off Leipzig 5-1. Like,
That
I don't
was
know.
that was bad.
Yeah, that's 4 wins in a row for them. So they're definitely making their case for top four. We'll see if they end up getting there. I've really liked Frankfurt.
Fun team.
Ekatike and Marmouche going forward make that team really exciting. Um, so I mean, they've kind of cemented their spot. I think also in the top four. But regardless, Bundesliga always lives up to the hype in terms of action and goals, and that's kind of why I love it.
Saving the two best leagues for last year in terms of a title race. We have La Liga. I think when we last talked, it was, dude, Barca, get those tickets ready. And now they've kind of lost a little bit of steam here.
You said, get your ticket in now.
And now I'm scared, quite frankly. Madrid sit 2 points back with a game in hand. Now, Madrid, Mbappe, the fact that Madrid are only 2 points back with a game in hand when Mbappe has been just continued to be dreadful. I think most about the Liverpool Real Madrid game that we did win, which was Harrison. I don't think you could understand how much that game meant to me. They've been just our my arch nemesis. If you add City in there, like, at least we'd get results against City. We just do not beat Real Madrid. We just don't. We lose every Champions League final to them. It's always bad. Courtois will stand on his head. But they've kind of caught steam, and they're really injured though. And that defensive line, they have that academy kid Atencio, who's actually been pretty solid. I kind of liked his game. He was giving Darwin Nunez a lot of stick in terms of just, really good defending. You still got Rudiger in there. A lot of holes in that Madrid game. It's really up to the veteran locker room there with Luka Modric and co to kind of keep and steady that ship. I'm just thinking if Mbappe does catch fire, which at some point I feel like it has to happen, that's when things could get really interesting. And of course, El Clasico will be probably the decider. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about this title race?
It's certainly starting to get a little interesting. I think deep down, I had a feeling that it would be really hard for Barcelona to sustain what they were doing earlier this year. I mean, they looked godlike.
Rafinha's 11 goals.
I just don't. I don't think that was. I don't think you could necessarily count on him scoring a goal a game. But Madrid starting to find it a little bit. Jude is starting to kick it back into gear. He scored in his last 5 La Liga games, which
good stat.
Obviously, thank you. Obviously helps a lot. So even when Mbappe's been struggling, they've had him to bag some goals for them. But I still feel like Barcelona is the better team as a whole. I still think that this is their league to lose. I'm not fully sold yet on Madrid. But I mean, they're definitely making it a little more interesting, and it makes for a lot more excitement going forward. And Lewandowski is still him, though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but at the same time, they throw away a win against Betis. They lost last weekend to Las Palmas, which was really bad. I mean, I believe in Hansi, and I think that they'll continue to roll, but they're really just leaning on Rafinha, Lewandowski, and Lamine Yamal to stay healthy. When Lamine was out, it was a little bit more of a struggle. I do think Ferran Torres has stepped it up though as of late in those as a substitute role, which is really good to see. And then you have the La Masia midfield that continues to kind of churn. Mm-hmm. Just they were so good early because they were so solid at the back. And I feel like that's reverted a little bit back to the mean. So we'll see if they can continue to keep it tight. I mean, you got to think about how many academy kids are out there. It's only a matter of time until Kubarsi makes a mistake, or Balde, or Hector Fort. Like, you can probably rattle off 5 or 6 names. Casado got sent off in a game that sure didn't help one of their results in the last couple games. So I still Barcelona are just beautiful to watch, though. At the end of the day, it's probably one of my favorite teams to watch. It's just so pretty.
Besides the Mallorca game where they just demolished them without Lewandowski at 5-1, their last two where they've dropped points, it's just been all on their own accord, like
Yeah,
blowing leads. Like the
yeah,
Betis game, they take the lead, or Barcelona takes the lead in like the whatever 82nd minute, and then give up a stoppage time goal. The Celta Vigo game where they end up tying 2-2, they give up 2 goals in a span of like 3 minutes after getting a red card. Like all self-inflicted errors, and I think that you know you take those away, and they would be obviously what probably 5 points ahead. So
yeah.
um,
I think it's
a
the
little bit.
youngsters feeling the pressure,
Yeah,
probably.
that might be the case. But at the same time, I think that you just take away those self-inflicted errors, and they maintain a strong hold on the league. So I think that they'll figure it out again. And I think it's still their league to lose.
So Athletic Bilbao, I think I actually did wager. I can't remember. I'd have to check my future bet slip,
Oh
but
boy,
I think I had them to finish top four,
sure.
and they were at one point in like 14th, and they kind of rattled off
Four in a
uh,
row.
four in a row, a draw before that. Now they sit in fourth, 3 points behind Atletico. Atletico have kind of put it back into gear as well, winning five in a row. I mean, there was a point where Atletico were dog shit, and they were losing in
Mm-hmm.
the Champions League. They were losing in La Liga, and it seems like that Simeone's teams these days kind of are like a big roller coaster. You just got to ride it. So it'll be interesting. I feel like the top four in that order is kind of going to be how it's finished. Now, Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid do have a point or a game in hand over Barcelona and Atletico, but it's going to be interesting. Also, you have Villarreal with 26 points with 2 games in hand. So I guess the La Liga scheduling is a little bit weird because all these different teams had different games played.
Yeah,
But it should be interesting.
Atletico's getting that production there from their forwards. I mean, Alvarez has been super good recently, and
Griezmann. Mm-hmm.
Griezmann has 4 goals in his last 3 games. So I mean, as long as they have those two guys clicking, and they're obviously in Simeone's system, they're usually pretty stout defensively. Then they're gonna be a tough team to beat.
100%. But it should be an interesting. Should be an interesting couple weeks here as I think their fixtures kind of ramp up and then I think they take a break, but maybe
They
not
play
anymore.
they play Barca in a couple weeks.
Okay, that'll be a fun one. And then we got last but not least Serie A. Atalanta 5 in a
Dude,
row on the bounce, leading Retegui top goal scorer right now with 12 goals. He's on fire. And then you got Napoli sniffing right behind them. I was pretty surprised they ended up losing that game to Lazio this weekend. I was hoping they'd win that game. But Inter 3 points back of Atalanta. Juventus have kind of gone by the wayside. Milan's just been hot and cold every year or all year, so there's no really surprise there. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Inter, Napoli, Atalanta. It's definitely not Atalanta's to lose at this point. I think you're going to see these three interchange constantly. And I feel like whoever goes shopping in January, I feel like Conte especially might go shopping in January a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens here. Also Inter with a game in hand. So if they win their next game, they'll be tied
yeah.
with Atalanta at this point. But Fiorentina in the top four, didn't really see that one coming. Lazio has really had a good bounce back year. How about Moise Kean running it back, 9 goals, number 3 in goal scoring for Serie A. That was, I thought he was finished, man. He's kind of put it together. Nuno Tavares, the lead assister right now.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
In Serie A, I didn't really see that. He was a Arsenal reject, and then all Juventus do is tie games at this point. So I don't see them as a title contender, but I do think they're taking steps in the right direction under Thiago Motta.
Yeah, Atalanta, man, they got some dudes going forward. I mean, Retegui,
Lookman,
Lookman,
Ketelare.
Ketelare, like those three just in and of itself are really exciting and a large part of why Atalanta have made the kind of push that they've made here. Still feel pretty confident about Napoli. Going into the year, I said that they would be title contenders, and here they are. So, I mean, it's all about Antonio Conte. He's just a dog. And
Inter
Inter,
Milan scare me.
I don't know. Uh, I'm not scared for them. I think that they have a lot of experience, and I also trust. I also trust Inzaghi a lot. Um, so I think that they shouldn't be too worried quite yet. I still think they're the best team. Um, and like you said, they have a game in hand, a win, and all of a sudden they're right there, tied with Atalanta. So they shouldn't be, I don't think, too worried, especially considering that they had a bad start to the year. They've really picked it up as of late. So I still think that Inter should be the favorites here, but it's certainly like if we're talking about top leagues in the world, this is the title race that I think will go down to the wire, possibly last day.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. A team that kind of fell off is AC Milan here, especially
Dude.
with this Pulisic injury out till January. I think that's going to be catastrophic because he carried them for the first start of the season. Rafa Leao has kind of kicked it back into gear. Morata is back on the field playing, but I mean, legitimately, who are you going to replace Pulisic with? Probably Chukwueze or Okafor. I just don't think either of those players are up to snuff to get Milan where they're going. They do have a big hill to climb to catch Juventus, who are in front of them in 5 points. So, I think this is a lost year for AC Milan. I'm very happy with Pulisic's progress. It is a shame. I thought I like that Musa has gotten more minutes recently, which is always nice. They're a fun team to watch because crazy shit happens in those games. But
I can't believe Fonseca's still there.
Yeah, I don't know how he's on. I feel like he's always on borrowed time at this point. But we'll kind of see how it goes. But Harrison, it would not be a episode without predicting some Champions League fixtures. I'm going to start with Liverpool just because it is at Girona, but I think Liverpool are going to win by at least 3 here. Are you? Or I think it's not even going to be a close game. What do you think?
Are they going to be resting guys?
They technically got a rest this weekend. They do play Fulham.
Nothing wrong with more rest.
True,
also, consider they're number 1 in the Champions League. Don't have a whole lot to worry about, I don't think. But yeah, they should win comfortably. Girona by no means scares me whatsoever. So I could definitely see a 3-0, regardless probably of who Liverpool starts.
Fair enough. Atalanta, Real Madrid in Bergamo. This is gonna be okay. Is Atalanta for real? This is like my yardstick game for Atalanta. We've seen them kind of piss all over themselves in the Champions League here and there. I think that they have the attacking 3 to give this Real Madrid defense a hell of a lot of issues. It's if they can keep it tight at the back. Do you think that Real Madrid still get it done?
I like a draw.
Okay.
I like 2-2. I like fun.
I think this would be a fun game. I do too. I think a draw. Maybe I lean a little Madrid here, just based off just the Champions League. You know how Real Madrid get in the Champions League, but I wouldn't be shocked with the draw. And then we got right below it the anti-football versus beautiful football, Bayer Leverkusen versus Inter Milan. I'm going to give Inter the edge here. I think they can soak up this pressure. I think they could counterattack on this Leverkusen side. And I feel like this matchup, even though it's at Bayer Leverkusen, I think this bodes very well for Inter Milan.
Yeah, I'd say so. They'll probably be tough to break down for Leverkusen. I still think this could be an interesting kind of game, especially at Bayer. I'm going to say 1-1. It feels kind of gross, actually.
It's
Even
going to
though
be a gross game.
I usually like watching Leverkusen, but
Not
Inter
not
have
this one.
no. Inter just find ways to make things nasty, and so I'm gonna say 1-1.
I think I'm going to go with 1-0 Inter. I think Leipzig, Aston Villa, two teams that are very on par with each other. Two teams that are very alike, in my opinion. I have no idea how this game is going to go, Harrison. Not a clue.
I mean,
Probably a
typically,
draw.
if I was
2-2.
if I had no idea, besides just looking at the tables of each side, I'd probably lean actually Villa. But Villa, as of late, have not been sparkling. um, and I wouldn't say Leipzig necessarily have been amazing, but they're also top four and have played decent, I'd say, over the past whatever 8 games. Um, I'll actually lean Leipzig here. I'll say I'll say 2-1. I think Villa are just kind of run down a little bit right now.
That's fair. The Let's see if there's any other good games. The next day we have Dortmund versus Barcelona at Dortmund, who are obviously really tough to beat in the Champions League at home, especially. Barcelona, like we mentioned before, have dropped a few. Do you think this is one of them where they drop, or do you think they just tactical prowess just kind of overrules here and Hansi Flick's the better coach, therefore Barcelona should probably win this game? And superior talent, of course, but
I lean Barcelona for sure. And they have a guy who knows a thing or two about scoring at that place.
And then when Dallas would have scored, that is automatic.
Oh, it's free. Maybe chuck me in for 2. So I'll take Barca. I'll say 3-1.
3-1. I think that's fair. I was going to go 2-0.
I don't like Dortmund at all.
I don't either. And then probably the ugliest match on the board here, Juventus Man City. Naturally, any guy would say City's going to win this game, but how they've been playing mixed in with Thiago Motta, just really tough to beat teams. This is going to be like a 0-0 for me.
I'm going to take City 1-0. I think
or narrow, a narrow win. That's fair.
I mean, I like it under, but I'll say City 1-0. Just gonna be a slog fest. One of those games I'm not tuning into. Actually,
no, I will. You can bet your bottom dollar I will be not tuning into that. Weekend Manchester Derby, big look ahead spot. How do you think that City's just play United off the park, and this is where they're kind of back?
Man, like I think does Amram have something up his sleeve here?
That would be incredible,
dude.
Amram also got absolutely clapped by Guardiola like a month and a half ago. City versus Sporting. If we're gonna remember that too, keep that in the back of the mind.
I mean, there's gonna be serious there's already serious questions, but if City don't win this game, there's gonna be some serious questions, and I think they're gonna draw. I think it'll be 1-1. I think it'll be 1-1. I think United put up a serious fight here. Amram gets them fired up and says, "Hey, this is what we've been fucking waiting for, fellas." And I don't know. I don't know. My gut, dude, is telling me the United find a way to get some sort of result out of this game.
No, your gut said Forest last week, and how did that go? I'm just playing. That was mean. Yeah. Not the lash out. Not the lash out.
Gut's been bad recently, so.
Leipzig, Frankfurt. I think Frankfurt win this one, but I feel like this is a sneaky Leipzig spot here that could bring Frankfurt down to earth a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if Red Bull Arena's really got that kind of atmosphere.
No, it doesn't have the juice.
Do gotta say, went to a hockey game in Munich, and it was also Red Bull Arena. Dude, those guys with the Red Bull are psychopaths. They were pouring half-liter cups of Red Bull that they had on tap. 8 different flavors lined up like a typical, like what you get at your Chick-fil-A. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. These guys were just pouring half-liter cups of straight Red Bull, and I was like, all right, these guys are madmen.
You put in
But
your
on that
pint?
note, give me Frankfurt.
Okay.
They don't like I don't trust Leipzig, and I think Frankfurt are honestly just a better team than them. So I'll say 2-1 Frankfurt.
Awesome. Well, Harrison, it's always good to chat footy. We're going to try to bring this back on a weekly basis. So, this isn't going to be another 5-week break, I imagine here. So, we'll definitely get together. Maybe, just maybe, in a couple weeks here, we might even record a live episode since I'll be home for Christmas. That would be really fun, I think. So, thanks for tuning in, guys. Sorry about the long-awaited absence, and we'll talk to you guys soon.